I'm about to right now.
Yeah, go ahead.
All
Go
right.
ahead.
Uh, well, thanks for being here to see me talk to Portlandisburning, the notorious racist, well known across throughout all of Twitter and Twitch space. The one and only. So just out of curiosity, why do you hate every American value so much?
I mean, can you blame me? They're the worst. I mean, freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of religion. Come on. Can't we just chill and all just sort of act the same way so we don't have to disagree with me so often? I mean,
I,
personally, I think if everybody just got on the same page that I'm on, we would be fine. But instead, got to deal with a bunch of fucking dirty, progressives and dirty
okay.
conservatives and people that want to drag us in directions that aren't the one I'd prefer. So obviously, I have to hate all of those people.
My asshole clenched so hard as soon as you said dirty. I was like, whoa, wait. How jokey we be in here?
I mean, don't worry.
I took a
I'm
bite of my food
at
too, so
least
I couldn't even say anything. I said embrace.
I appreciate the willingness to like experience it organically, even if you felt like something horrible is about to happen. But yeah, I just hate this country, everything it stands for, and everybody in it, especially the people that disagree with me. The people that agree with me, they're okay, but they could still use some work. What are you eating?
Fantastic. Spaghetti. It's like all we have
That's
right
so
now.
disrespectful.
I went
See,
off screen. I dipped down off the
this is
screen.
one of the problems I have with this disgusting country full of gluttonous perverts right here is that like you couldn't change the schedule on your dinner, you couldn't forego a
This is my
debauchery of any
lunch.
kind to ensure a really smooth stream. So
I'm
it's
eating
real.
below the camera.
Yeah, I know, it's a power move.
Oh, I'm sorry that you're not very powerful. Um, so all jokes aside, the freedom of speech thing actually is the reason why we're having this conversation. It's my understanding is that you actually do think that we have a bit too much of it. Is that accurate?
I mean, what do you think, man? I do think that there is a little bit of an overvaluing of like absolutism in this country, whether it comes to like freedom of speech or the Second Amendment or like the right to the general sense that anything that we're given an inch on, we need to take 100 miles of screaming off a cliff in any given direction seems to be one of the more tenuous aspects of our culture here in the United States. But
Well, to be fair, our culture is built upon us going across the world and risking our lives to get away from people telling us what to do.
well, no, it's more like our culture is one of like seizing opportunity. And when we realized that we were in a position to reject the status quo and had both like the necessary capacity for violence and the necessary capacity for economic independence to do so, we seized that opportunity. Just like we seized the opportunity to improve our economic conditions through slavery and through other areas of like ethically questionable means that undoubtedly improved our ability to have a globally influential like state of American hegemony. I think that we tend to place a lot of emphasis on the why, but or like on the what, but not a tremendous amount of emphasis on the how. Historically speaking, it's not like we put people on those boats to sail to the United States to get away from British tyranny. We did it to like kill anyone that was here and seize this shit. And then we just had like a localized interest that kind of overtook the need to be subservient. So
Um,
Take that.
Uh,
Also,
so
God bless America. I
yeah,
will
as
I
I
will
say, so
double down on flags at any given time if necessary, just to make my point more emphatic. Also, Haas, Twy, I hope you guys are both having a really good night. It's nice to see you both in chat.
um, well, it does kind of sound like you do hate American values, then.
No, I'm really self-aware, maybe to a fault,
Uh-huh.
both about myself and about like my state of um enjoyment of privilege. I really I think that there are a lot of aspects of my life that can be chalked up to being in the right place at the right time to an extraordinary degree, not just like within the sense of like our population in the United States, but like globally speaking, I'm tremendously lucky to be both here and here when I was here in terms of like my economic status and my general ability to prosper in a world that still has a pretty prevalent state of poverty.
Um,
So, I mean, it's cool. I'm glad that I'm here, but at the same time, like I acknowledge that I'm only this lucky because of a lot of severely asymmetrical, like systemic relationships between the United States and the rest of the world. Does that make sense?
yeah. Um, of course, I mean that's basically the case for everybody.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so
To some extent. I mean, people that were born into extraordinary levels of generational poverty, addiction, and neglect, even here in the United States, probably don't feel super lucky or fortunate to be exactly where they are and when they're there. But for the most part, anybody that's able to achieve a reasonable level of stability and success probably attributes at least a little bit of that to their, proximity to Western culture, right?
yeah, I mean, I think deep down everybody understands that there's a multitude of factors that are outside of your control. That no matter how much effort and time and work you put into anything, the vast majority of the circumstances of your life are completely predetermined. um, well, I would say like there's like a huge predetermination, and then there's a huge like out of your hands post determination too. Like most of the things that
The predetermination is like the starting block, right?
yeah, and then you're just
Everything
going to have
else is like, I mean, not everything, but like the majority of other factors are
luck.
personal and like individually experienced, but where you start relative to everyone else in terms of economic opportunity and stuff probably dictates a lot of where you're going to end up on average.
Yeah, I think that there's like two schools of thought. There's like the like everything is pretty random, and you're always gonna do what you're gonna do. So like basically you get like credit for nothing, like you just are. And then there's the other school of thought where you're going to like your worth is like you make what you can out of whatever comes through all this random shit. If you're in America and you're white and you have all this privilege and you use it to build something great, well, you did that through your own ingenuity and hard work, using the things that were presented to you to the best advantage that you could. These are like the two like main ways that people think about like how they got to where they are. I think a lot of people kind of like sit in the middle of them. They can acknowledge both, but it does get kind of scary when you see the far end of this is all me. And I think that freaks me out, but I also think that it freaks me out when I see people move really far towards the other side where like well, I'm just like this because of like all these different factors. I think that's also kind of weird, and I think it's not good for the individual to think that way either.
Well, I mean, it's nature versus nurture, right? And we have to acknowledge that there's some like combination of both factors at play in any given person's like end result, so to speak. So I firmly believe that the economic opportunity afforded to me in the United States, or like in a developed country in general, is one of two factors, and the other is my genetic predisposition to being able to perform at a high level in certain areas that capitalist cultures value, or just that like the cultures of meritocracy in general value, because I hate using the word capitalist as this like catch-all, as though there isn't some sort of meritocratic element to every aspect of human life, no matter how you like politically organize. You know, some people are still going to be vested with like power and authority and a greater level of influence because they're willing to take it and because they have the capacity to take it. And a
And
lot of
hold
those
it, yeah.
things, yeah, a lot of those things come down to predispositions that we are born into and don't earn or uh, inherit in any way other than a really literal genetic way. Like, we don't know exactly what gene leads to people being outspoken, or there's no charisma gene, but there are undoubtedly these factors that lead people to more leadership inclined roles, and roles that are higher on the natural hierarchy, whether you're talking about a capitalist society or like a socialized society or whatever. So I'm
Yeah.
really, really fortunate because of where and when I happen to exist, but I'm also really fortunate that I was born with a certain capacity to interact with people and um, traits that are able to be easily monetized. The, you know, gift of gab is something that I heard a lot growing up, and I think that's one of the reasons that I knew early on that I was going to gravitate towards a more um, interactive position. Early on, I thought it was going to be something in like the legal industry. I thought that I was going to be able to monetize my ability to talk by, um, you know, entering the legal profession, being a lawyer or something, a prosecutor or something along those lines.
Everybody told me
And
I should be a lawyer when I was growing up, like my entire life. That's what everybody thought I would do.
I think that probably for a lot of the same reasons, you have a really good ability to communicate your points and view counterpoints in a way that is emotionally unbiased, even if you do have some emotional biases that would normally want to drag you in one direction or the other. So I can appreciate that. And honestly, like, I think if we were closer in proximity, we'd probably hang out and have a pretty good time, because I try to approach a lot of my conversations in the same way. And I immediately felt like you approached the conversations that we had and the conversations that I watched you have in a really, really genuine way, which I think facilitates really healthy and really productive conversations instead of ones that are really easily clickbait oriented. For that reason, I can appreciate why you're trying to lean a little bit more into like a clickbaity title and stuff. You want to, you know, monetize the conversation in some way, but not in a way that's gonna make compromise the way you have it. You know,
The clickbaity title is it's really funny too. You said if we were in closer proximity, we would probably hang out, and then you listed the reason ways that we're similar. But I think the thing that make you and I get along is that if we hung out in real life, the epic levels of shit talk between you and I would be extraordinary. I think
have a
that we
good
would
time.
talk so much shit and really build off each other's creativity and shit talking to where it would just be so much fun.
Yeah,
You really
exactly.
inspire me to like get you with like the most clever burns I could think of because you just have that energy that I think matches mine in the I guess sort of like I think you're probably really good at mischief.
You know, I had a I had a talent for it when I was younger. Now I have a 2-year-old, a 3-week-old, a wife, and a full-time career that occupy so much of the time that I would normally expend on mischief, but I still do have like I want to go out and like have a little bit more whimsical interactions with the world. And I think that that's one of the reasons that I'm taking the interview with Robin so seriously,
Yeah.
because I want that to be framed as like an art project that really conveys my sensibilities and not something that's just another throwaway piece of content that will garner an extra few views because people recognize his name. I want, you know, there to be some part of me in there that's not just an interview about him, but that like says something about the way I want to like interact with people and have fun too. So
I get that.
it's
Uh,
a, you
big
know,
time.
it's fun to have areas of interest like that. And at the same time, it can also be kind of discouraging because it's like, are my ambitions too grandiose? And am I going to end up feeling like a diminished level of returns at the end of the day? But because I'm kind of just like doing it for me, I have to just accept whatever does or doesn't come of it, you know?
When somebody says that your aspirations are too high, what they're really saying is that my aspirations are low, and you're making me feel uncomfortable. Fuck that shit. Don't let that shit get to you. I think on a project like that, your success or failure will come from how you feel about it when you're viewing it, knowing other people are viewing it.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's how I tend to feel about it too. Was like I want people to know like if whether there's 10 people that watch it or 10,000 people that watch it, I want them to like walk away with the feeling that like they learned something about me, not just something about him.
yeah.
So there's
Um,
going to be an element of that that I need to take more seriously than your average like conversation with Smug Bug about dog fucking or something like that.
you don't like those? I put those on to go to bed. No, just
I
kidding.
mean, no, I they're great lullabies, and at the same time, you know, every once in a while his gain just gets a little bit out of control. So you do have to moderate it a tiny bit, but I I actually these conversations entertain me more than they probably entertain the audience. At the end of the day, I really enjoy them. So, you
Yeah,
know,
I've said myself, I stream for basically I just stream for selfish reasons. I like talking, and this provides me with a really good way to find and reach out to people that know about the stuff I want to talk about. Uh, and I love
absolutely.
it. And I think when you put something out there, so like for me, the first thing that I'm really putting out there, that, like this is important to me, is the vasectomy review. I started editing it like 4 or 5 days ago, and I've sort of taken a break, and I'm just like in headspace. I could have rushed it out that whole night, but and even though it seems silly, like this is the story about a thing that happened to me, and I think that when I watch it, or if my wife watches it, or if my girlfriend watches it, which I'm sure I'll have them like review it beforehand, but I'm not gonna know how I feel until I watch it, knowing that like the general public has access to it. It's like you ever like really like a song, and then you want to like show your friend, and then as soon as you start playing it, like your brain just starts like taking note of everything that they're gonna shit on.
Yeah. Yeah. You're
That's
like,
that's the
wait.
thing.
I saw that and I've never heard this note before, but it was a little bit off. And I noticed just this tiny little twinge in their eyelid when they heard it. And now I'm just like, is everything about their experience of the song colored by this fuck up that I've never even perceived before because I'm so emotionally invested in it? Yeah, like we're on the same page. We're on the same
Yeah,
page.
I think it's that effect. So
It's there's a paralyzing effect to it. for
Yeah,
sure.
but if what you put out can withstand that, and you can look at it and even notice some things that like you wish you had done differently, and understand that it's not and never could have been perfect, but you're like, no, this is good. I like this. That's a huge win in my book. It's a huge win in my book if I can at least learn things that I can improve on right now, because editing's fucking hard.
Yeah. How is your business going? Like, how are you doing personally? We haven't
Oh
talked in a
man.
few weeks, and I know that you have been going through a lot of like personal and professional growth. Obviously, I don't know what you talk a lot more about your personal life than your professional life. How are things going on that end, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, let's see here. I wonder if I can put this on the screen. I think I can. It's probably gonna be too big. I um I have done well enough to where I got upgraded my account to a pro account, which is basically as high as the thing lets you go. Elderjawsy .tcgplayerpro.com. It's like my own landing page. You can't see anything else in the TCG Player catalog. It's just all of my stuff. And finally, I got access to their camera that lets you scan basically any card from any franchise of like any company that's making trading cards. It can scan it like really fast. So instead of spending like a full day to scan 1,000 cards in, I can do it in like 2.5 hours. Right, instead of like typing the name and then like looking up and matching the quality and quantity and all that, I can just scan it from my webcam. It's fantastic. It's finally going like really really well to where it's just like consistent every day. I got stuff to do. Um, we just sent out. I think I just sent out like 67 orders today.
So
So
can you
I
tell
like
me a
it.
little bit about I know that you told me about two different things that you were doing, which was like a security endeavor and a magic endeavor. Which one are you focusing on more? It sounds like you're doing more of the magic thing in terms of like doing a wholesaler and inventory kind of role. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah. So I there's piles of them right now because I've been doing some sorting and inventorying. I have like a bunch of cards sitting here, and I use my webcam to scan them in, and I get you can think of it similar to like being on eBay, selling things on eBay, but it is different. This is the largest market. Like anybody who plays Magic, I would assume people that play Pokemon are well aware of it, but Magic players know like even if you're gonna trade cards, this is the price guide you go by. Um, you go to TCG Player because it has like the best prices for it. But I don't understand how this works. But you don't have to be the lowest seller to get sales. I was the lowest seller for the long time when I first started, and now when I switched to just the market price, it's like the amount of money that I make more counteracts any fees I might pay to them by just going to market price. Like this is what I had when I woke up at 10:30. I have like all these orders they gotta get sent out still. Well, it's Sunday, so I don't really give a shit. Um, I think this month I've brought in about $2,000 so far. We're
Good for
pretty good for
you.
halfway through the month. Thank you. I
Yeah.
mean, it's probably closer to like 1750 or something when you count all the supplies, like all the printing and shipping and all that. But
You're talking like net versus gross,
yeah,
or
yeah,
I mean
yeah.
like, and then you've obviously still got to pay taxes on top of those. So like
Yep.
yeah. So that's still though,
For sitting on my
that's
ass and like playing poker or playing League in between or whatever, that's pretty good money for just like sitting around.
yeah, absolutely.
I do want to
I'm
do more surveillance stuff. Is the other thing you were asking about, but that requires my vehicle to be in better order. I put a new alternator in, and I cut up my hand when I was doing one of the bolts, and so I think I sort of convinced myself the bolt was tight enough, and as a result, the bolt snapped when I was driving. So I gotta take it in to get the snapped bolt removed, which I don't know how much that's because like I can barely get my hand in there to tighten this thing down.
you
Let
know,
alone,
that's one of the things that I'm really excited about with having two small children is those
yeah.
teensy tiny little hands and arms that are able to reach into those uncomfortable and like hard to maneuver areas. I think that my future has some very promising prospects full of unpaid child labor now that I've started the reproductive process in earnest and closed it. I will mention that I was able to secure a tubal for my wife at the conclusion of her C-section, which added nothing to her recovery time and added very, very marginal cost to our bill at the end of the day. And as far as I was concerned, locking the door on the way out was the way to go rather than putting me under for an additional elective procedure. So,
That's how
not gonna lie,
stoic. How stoic of you.
they were very pragmatic about it at the practitioner's office. They were like, "Oh yeah, well, we just go in at the same time and do this little,
You didn't like
time
unilaterally
and
make that
go
decision,
in."
right?
Yeah, exactly.
You did?
You're all no, wait, I'm sorry. What was your
I said
question?
you didn't unilaterally make that decision, right? She was
No,
like,
no, 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 no.
okay,
I thought you said like you didn't. I misinterpreted the question. Like, of course I didn't. My
okay.
wife was the one who was very confident she didn't want to do this again,
Hmm.
and was immediately willing to, upon the description of the procedure as a companion to a C-section. It'd be different if she was having a,
Regular
vaginal
birth.
delivery, but because she'd already had a C-section in her first delivery, we were 99% gonna go C-section at the same time, and it was a case of them being like, "Yeah, well, this will add nothing to your recovery time. It'll add about 10 minutes to your surgery, and you literally won't know that it's happening any more so than you will the rest of the procedure because you're under an epidural
So yeah, well,
versus."
even the healing, like you're just gonna be sore as fuck anyways. You wouldn't know what it is.
Exactly, like, you just had a
It might be more,
8-pound
but you wouldn't
meat
know.
pulled out of you were just chopped open Game of Thrones style, and the only difference is they kept you alive, and there's very, very marginal difference between the, C-section in a vacuum versus a C-section and having your tubes tied
Uh,
versus, like,
I get it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
If
like, it's not that I was like making the decision for her, that I was unwilling to
it was
go
just the way it
under
was
myself.
worded.
Yeah, yeah. Well, admittedly, there was a little bit of a miscommunication there, but no, I didn't do
Mm.
anything to like nudge her in that direction. She's very, very adamant that she didn't want to, like most women, didn't want to go through the rest of her adult life, or at the very least, like her fertile adult life, using protection like some kind of douche. So was
Yeah, I
very open to whatever option was most expedient. And because she was already having a C-section, it was not a question which option would be the most expedient in terms of like recovery time, expenses, and operational convenience. I would have had to go in just like you for a vasectomy, which would have severely compromised my ability to, at the very least, help out with a small child for two small children for a few days, and at worst could have compromised it for a more significant amount of time. Like, I got shit to do. So
yeah,
it was it was a pragmatic decision, and one that I think we made the right call on. So
uh yeah. Yeah, yeah. I would say I obviously I get it. I made that this a similar decision. Um for me, I just found out I was like, "Oh, your insurance I was like insurance can cover it." I was like, "Bet. My wife doesn't have to take birth control anymore. I'm doing it. Easy. Easiest decision of my life." I
yeah,
wish it
exactly.
was
Like, we were at the no, you're totally right. We were at the end of we had our son on December 23rd. So everything was like over the cap, and everything that we had done in addition was free because we'd already reached our maximum out of pocket and paid our deductible and stuff, and it was all like in the same calendar year, if we had waited to do some kind of like vasectomy or additional like elective treatment after her recovery and stuff, we would have been into January or February, and we would have incurred a whole new year's worth of billing and stuff. Whereas now we're pretty in the clear for everything except for like our minimal like check-in appointments. Our son has a couple more, like, he's got a 4-week appointment
Oh, sure.
and like a 2-month and a 4-month, and then I think he has, I can't remember exactly what the schedule is, but you go from like a 6-month to an 18-month. Basically there's like an entire year where you don't need to take them in unless there's anything wrong, and we're going to get all of that minimal stuff stacked up this year. And because we had him at the end of last year, we're going to get the tax credit for the entire year. Like,
Hell yeah.
there are some really significant economic benefits to it, and yeah,
I like the idea that you like pulling out the tax calendar to decide when you're gonna have sex. Like, all right, this week it's every night. I don't give a shit. 2 times a night we going.
we we definitely used it in terms of the level of like
Interest?
urgency that we had with the C-section, because the C-section was done at 38 weeks and it doesn't need to be done until like 39 weeks, and we were basically like, oh no, just like loop it in right there. We're good. It was
Portland's
supposed
going
to
to bed
be,
like my dick's pumping out money tonight.
yeah, exactly, like no,
I'm writing
I'm
checks
trying
with
to
this
get like
dick.
this baby just like monetized itself to a degree of like $700 a day for the 8 days that it was alive in December. So like, let's go. This baby made more than me for those 7 days. This baby made more than my wife. Like, this was the most economically capable family member for the end of the year.
All of a sudden, people start feeling really resentful and insecure around the baby. Like, you think you're better than me making $700 a day?
Yeah, you're not. We had a conversation about it. I was teasing my wife about it a little bit. It's just like, hold on. I just want to point out that like for the last week and a half of the year, this baby was the most economically savvy family member, and she really didn't appreciate it as much as I did. But these are things that women just don't know how to enjoy.
Change his
I
diaper now. He's the breadwinner.
Well, and I think it's just a gendered thing, like I'm used to both the socially imposed responsibility of needing to earn the most money and the relief that comes along with getting a break from that.
Mhm.
Whereas she is not. She finds like a tremendous amount of emotional value in making the most money for any given period of time, and then is very challenged by being overtaken in any given period. So like the last month of the year, she put out this little boudoir special for her photography business for a Christmas themed set, and like went and bought a bunch of like tinsel and candy cane Christmas themed shit, and just took the spare bedroom that she already has as like her studio and just Christmas themed it. And she made like $6,000 in the month of December. She made like way more
Jesus
money than me.
Christ, his
Yeah,
birthday.
in like 2 weeks, she racked up like 6 grand. December is the hardest month of the year for me because I work in the marijuana
Yeah.
industry, and sales on retail goods that are like non-essential like that, they always dip
Oh,
in the holidays because people are using their money on other stuff. They're not spending their money on the things that they want. They're like cutting back on those budgets so they can put it into presents and stuff like that. So also there's a bunch of tax related elements in the marijuana industry that make it really, really hard at the end of the year, because marijuana businesses still
sin
get taxed
tax.
under this thing called 280E, which I don't know if you've ever heard of it
It's like the
before.
sin tax, right?
Yeah, basically it's the tax that any business that is federally illegal is
Yeah.
responsible for, whether it's like a marijuana business or like an escort business, or it's the thing that came up in the aftermath of Al Capone getting clapped because he didn't pay his taxes.
Yeah, it's you're
Basically.
you're doing a bad thing, so you can do the bad thing, but we're gonna make you pay us more.
Yeah,
Um,
we're going to let you do the bad thing, but it's going to cost about like 20% more off the top, which is such a weird fucking like norm to live under. And at the same time, it's like, oh no, it's not just a norm. We have a word for it. And like it's the syntax and it's the 280E like governmental code and stuff. There's just such a normalization element around being like, yeah, you can do these things we deem are unacceptable to society as long as you pay your taxes. And it's like, well, then it's not really unacceptable, right? It's normalized, it's just expensive.
yeah.
But
Do you
I,
smoke too?
you mean like, I mean, I
Pot.
smoke
Smoke
weed.
weed? Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't smoked weed in a long time, but I've been interested in. I smoked weed like every day for like 13 years, but I haven't for like 4 years. And my girlfriend works at a dispensary, and she got me the lowest THC joint they could, because that's what I asked for, and I think it's still like 17%. And like when I was a teenager, this would be the most fire weed of all time. I think I'm gonna uh smoke it on stream like next week sometime. Are you allowed to smoke weed on Twitch or just YouTube?
Yeah, yeah. There are a lot of streams that I've been on where people are like actively smoking the entire time. You know, like Jen and Sleeve T Rocks, they smoke like Jen smokes like the entire stream. Jason's Society obviously has that stoner cast thing where
Are you talking about
he
f
and
bombs?
like sorry?
Are you talking about f bombs?
No, F
Oh,
bombs
he has
is
a
like
weed
the
show.
next. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah, I don't know who you're talking about.
F bombs is another. He was like the next person that I was going to mention, but I
Oh,
was just saying like there are a lot of people who have these shows that involve or are heavily themed around them smoking weed, and I had a lot of the same questions initially, but I think that it seems to be pretty kosher because there are a bunch of different streams that I've personally been on where people are smoking like out of bongs the entire time. They're not doing something that's like, you know, maybe
discreet.
they are, maybe they aren't. Like, oh, this is a weed pen, but maybe it's a nicotine pen. Who knows? Like, no, these people are like holding bongs up to the camera and being like, this is like, you know, LA Confidential from the dispensary on 13th and Foster, and it's $13 a gram. And it, like, you know, they're very, very vocal about it. So you should be chill. Also,
I'd
um
say you're more than welcome to join me on that stream. I might have invite a few people to
yeah, I mean, like, let me know when you're gonna
yeah,
when did you say?
sometime next week.
Let me know
I
when you're
probably on a
gonna
day
do
when
it.
my girlfriend's not here because I might get sleepy and I like to hang out with her when she is here. She's like here like half or more days out of the week. So um I don't want to just like pass out on one of those days. Uh
I get it. So she's not living with you guys full time?
not at the moment. But most I would say most of the time.
I mean, it's not really like important either way. It was just one of those things that like you guys obviously share a lot of your personal info and stuff. And the
A lot of her
last time I,
stuff's here.
well, I mean, that's like a soft move in, or
Yeah.
in your case, it might be a semi chubby move in. I don't know, but one way or another, there's like obviously a halfway in, halfway out element to it, and you're seemingly pretty open about uh the complexity of it and
Yeah.
the level of modern lifestyle implications and stuff that come along with it. I think that's cool. And I think that you guys obviously seem like you're really happy with the situation that you've settled into, whether it's like immediately understandable for everybody in the general population or not. So that's all that really matters.
I would say we're all
As long as
extremely
nobody's wearing
happy.
a fucking furry suit. If anybody starts wearing a furry suit, I will disavow immediately and unequivocally. All right?
That's funny. Yeah, I
Hey,
don't
can you
have
give
any
me like 30
interest.
seconds? I gotta pee now.
Yeah, no problem.
Cool.
Um, oh shit. I ordered a pizza and it's been outside for like almost 20 full minutes. If you're in chat, I know Portland looks at other people's chats when he's there. Just tell him I'll be right back. I'm just going to grab my pizza. Um, the spaghetti didn't upset him enough, so I had to pull the pizza tactic.
Mm. I was back sooner than he expected. Oh, here he comes with an entire ass pizza box.
Yeah, well, the spaghetti didn't really pull things in my direction, so I figured I'd pull the pizza tactic on you.
That's a very lateral move, in all honesty.
Um,
Like, I respect your willingness to just be like, no, this quasi-Italian and extremely commonplace marinara-based food isn't doing it for me. I need to bring in something that's like 0.5 degrees in a different direction on the palate.
yeah,
Respect.
why not the original debate tactic food?
That I respect it.
Um, I meant to tell you
That is
earlier too. When your kids get a little bit older, they're the greatest funnel for you to commit your mischief. I fuck with my kid all the time. My kid's 14, and say like the last like 7 years of their life, I just fuck with them every chance I get. I think it makes them good people.
looking forward to it. And at the same time, I remember like, there's a spectrum to it because there are people that I think had the same kind of mentality when I was around like 10 to 14 that took it in directions that I will never forgive and that I think like those people are pieces of shit and I won't even go to their funerals. And at the same time there are people who are like, oh, those were really like fun, formative, like, joking around influences and stuff. So it's a spectrum for sure. Like I
I guess
remember
I don't ever
um
do anything. No decisions I ever make for my kid are based on how I feel. It's always based on what's right, what's okay.
well, I mean,
When I
what's
interact with
funny
my kid,
transcends what's right and what's okay.
I think
I
that
am
being
fully
funny is I think it's immoral to not be funny around your kids.
I would agree with that. That being said, I think it's also similarly immoral to use your children as objects or props for comedy. And there's like a pretty important differentiating factor there that I think kind of some people disregard a little bit too willingly.
I think it's super important to always from the day that they're born to acknowledge your child's personhood and individualness.
Mm.
And I think that if you don't have that, then that might lead into the issue that you're talking about.
Well,
I've told my
a
kid
lot of it
on
comes
countless
down.
times.
A lot of my experience that I'm speaking from comes down to like ancillary, like indirect relatives more than like the household relatives. One example that I was immediately thinking of when you brought it up was my uncle who used a few months that I was at their house from out of town as an opportunity to like terrify me for the amusement of his friends when I was around like
Um,
10 or 11 years old. There was this 3-month period where I was staying at their house because my family had like moved away from the area, and they were a house I could stay at for the summer, basically, to like hang out with my friends and stuff. And my aunt and her kids were obviously they were extremely hospitable and stuff and super happy to see me, but her husband was really, really primed to use my presence as a way to amuse his friends via like terrorizing me while I was in a place that was kind of like intrinsically foreign to me, you know?
I think
So
the mischief should be the value of entertainment should be between you and the kid.
yeah, yeah, I think that's generally what I would agree with, is that like if the kid's not in on the joke, it's an abusive joke in some way. And
Yeah,
not to say that we've had conversations around the term abuse and whether or not
we
it's
have.
yeah, and I think that we would both agree that once you've reached that threshold of like what is abuse versus what is like just a gray area of a friendly behavior or something like that, something misguided but a little bit more harmful than you intend, I think we can agree that even the low level of abuse directed towards children is an extremely harmful thing for like social development in terms of just our ability to like identify with and feel safe around the people in our immediate space. So if
Particularly
we
your own children or children that are like by proxy yours, like your uncle.
yeah,
Um, there is no greater power differential that exists in Western society than a parent or somebody acting as parent to a child. You are the ultimate authority.
I would say in any society, I think this is the patriarchal influence extends even further in societies that we would not deem part of Western culture, insofar as their ability to utilize force to maintain and uh, create a level of uh, obedience within the household and towards a certain set of ideals. You know,
Well,
there
I
are
don't know.
cultures outside of Western society where it's still perfectly legal to beat your wife within your house, and where there are
That shit's not legal here.
I mean,
I'm just
it's
kidding. I'm
not
just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
strictly legal, but it's like, look the other way legal. So
Uh,
believe me, I lived in Arkansas for a brief period of time. I know all about the shit that's like look the other way legal versus the stuff that's on the books. And in the state of Washington, it's illegal to ride an ugly horse through the town square. Like
How
as
subjective.
I know, but let's be honest. Most horses are pretty hot. You'll know an ugly horse when you see one. Like, no, 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 no. That horse is fundamentally unfuckable. So,
Oh, keep talking. I think my girlfriend's
hey,
here, so my dogs are gonna lose their mind. I just sent
bad
you
dog.
a nice little meme.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I mean, here's the thing. My wife has a friend visiting right now, and if she goes out of her way to mention that I hit her, I'm going to go down there and hit both of them, and she knows it. Okay? So just just kidding. Obviously, for the autistic people watching. Anybody
Because I when I was like 15, my mom was gonna hit me, and I had my foot up to like create a barrier between us, and she's fucking stupid, so she ran into like my foot was like on the couch, and I put my foot out because I don't know if she was joking or not. She's acting like she was gonna hit me with this like window stopper, and she ran into my foot, and she grabbed her mouth like, "Oh, you hit me. You hit me in the face." And she's like, "You know I could call the cops." And he's like, "If you call the cops and said that I hit you, I'm gonna fucking hit you in the face. Like if I'm gonna get arrested for hitting you, I'm gonna do it. 1000%. I'm not going to jail for something I didn't do. I'll fucking knock you out. I don't care. Like you can tell the cops that, but like I'm not gonna make you a liar."
It's like, look, the threshold has not yet been crossed, but I am perfectly comfortable crossing it if the situation demands. I get it.
I don't think that I could go to jail like that. If I went to jail for something I didn't do, it'd be a lot. I think I would legitimately go crazy. So self preservation, I'm gonna have to punch you in the mouth, mom.
Hey, hey. As someone who has spent several years under the looming threat of jail time because of marijuana possession, I very much sympathize with your position there. I basically like skated through 3 years of weirdly inappropriate criminal probation and stuff on the basis that like there's an entire wing of the Idaho State Criminal Justice Department specifically designed to understand and exploit how they might seize constitutional loopholes to jail people for small amounts of marijuana possession. There's literally an entire task force like dedicated to it.
I really like
So
when you compared it because I was thinking like, if you call the cops on me for selling weed, like I'm gonna sell it.
exactly. Like, all right,
Don't
well,
fucking
like,
try
better
me. I'm not
tell
gonna
'em
go
the
to jail for
fucking
not doing
license
it.
plate number of my U-Haul because I'm on my way. Okay, like this is happening, and you can eat shit because I'm gonna make enough money to get a good lawyer and get my way out of. All right, and that's basically the situation. Is like in the United States, it's all about like how good a lawyer can you afford, and how bad is the legal system in the specific jurisdiction you ended up in. It's a balance of those two factors, and not at any point how badly did you violate the law of the land. So it's a really revealing thing to go through in real time, and I stand by my prescription that anyone who hasn't should be required to spend at least 24 hours in their county jail to more adequately understand both the consequences and the mechanisms of the criminal justice system. Because holy shit, like I spent 60 hours in a Boise, Idaho jail in like in the county jail in like over the course of a weekend where there was no one available on staff to like process me and get me into a holding cell. So I was basically just in the intake cell the entire time.
Well, you would have went
And
to Gen Pop if you had been properly processed, yeah.
well,
Well,
there's
you'd have to see the judge.
county jail doesn't have Gen Pop and none. It has like tiers of general population. So it just has like risk tiers 1, 2, and 3.
It's still, yeah, that's
based
still Gen Pop though.
well, no. Everything is like considered. I'm just saying like
You have your holding
in
cells, and then you have your Gen Pop.
there's jail and then there's prison. Prison has Gen Pop and then segregated populations. County jail in any given instance has like tiers of threat or like
Sure, homie.
risk factor.
I've spent
And so
close to
they've
a
got
full
like
year of jail time in my
right.
life.
So they've got it. I'm just saying that they like
Yeah,
categorize them differently, and if you aren't in the system, they don't have you categorized.
yeah.
And because they don't have you
So then, yeah, you
categorized,
have to
they
see the
hold
judge.
you. Yeah, they just hold you in the intake area the entire time. So if you're arrested on, say, a Friday night or a Saturday morning, and it's the first time that you've ever been arrested, they don't have you categorized in any way, and they won't have you categorized until they're ready to arraign and either release or detain you for further, like, like depending on the circumstances. So when I was arrested, I was not categorized in any way, and
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was arrested on a Saturday morning because I was just like driving through Idaho helping my buddy move to Utah from Washington, and had a little bit of like his personal belongings and a little bit of his weed. And they have this system of categorization in the state of Utah where they have a task force on the highway patrol monitoring the borders between Washington and Oregon and the state of Utah. And if you are a single male between the ages of like 18 and 59, optically speaking, they will pull you over as you cross the border in order to like assess your drug possession status.
There's a
And
hidden criteria in there too. If your car costs less than $30,000, I
yeah,
guarantee you, if you're driving with and a Porsche, you're not getting pulled over for that.
yeah, obviously. There's a class categorization to almost everything. But at the same time, there's like strict categorizations that they adhere to that almost always end up with people like me who are traveling by themselves getting pulled over, and then being subject to additional searches despite propensity for or probable cause. So I didn't have any probable cause in my stop. They literally pulled me over because they said like, "Oh, well, like we saw you kind of like weaving a little bit of the ways back, and we wanted to make sure you're safe. So we're pulling you over." And after a few minutes, they were like, "Oh, well, this dog like this canine unit is pretty close by, so we're just going to have them check your car real quick." And they basically took me out of my car, put me in the deputy's car, and made me wait until the canine unit got there. And apparently you aren't as a byproduct of the Fifth Amendment, or I mean the Fourth Amendment, against search and seizure, you aren't protected in the space around your car. Like the air around your car isn't protected by the Fourth Amendment. Like the
Yeah, I was gonna
space
say you
inside.
let him search your car because I've
No,
that's
no,
the
they brought a canine unit. They took me out of my car and brought a
that's
canine
crazy.
unit to my car and had him like circle my car. And when he signaled, they used that as probable cause to search my car. And it's a it's a series of constitutional and legal loopholes that are almost never held up in court, but because they largely target people who can't afford private counsel, they don't generally fail in court because public defenders don't have the time to review arrest footage in detail and go through the process of like appealing the evidence that's been submitted to court and stuff. So like because I was able to pay for expensive private counsel and stuff, I was able to completely avoid any level. Basically, I did like a little bit of community service in my area, paid a very small fine, and then was like released from my charges in custody and stuff. Even though it was, I mean, I get really sketchy about even like detailing the level of charges that were brought against me and stuff on this medium because I don't want to go out
Dox
of my
yourself.
way to
Whoops.
provide that kind of information, you know. But
I get it,
needless to
and
say,
I get it. Like in Michigan before it was legal, I did a lot. I sold a lot of weed. All right.
well,
Uh,
that's fair. That's fair.
it's a very good way to supplement your income.
Yeah, very
Especially,
true.
I had a medical card when that was the only thing that was happening, and I was like in rural, like the thumb, and I would drive down like an hour and a half to go to a dispensary, since I was like one of like the small handful of people that couldn't. I'd go back up, and it was still scary, because in my county they were like, even if you have your card, we're still gonna charge you.
What you're describing, I did for about 6 years as my primary mode of income. I was a medical like I was a medical provider
I was a
here in the state
caregiver.
of Washington. and I would just drive up to, like, I live in Southwest Washington, about like 3 hours from what was the nearest brick and mortar physical dispensary in Washington up until about 2015, when they passed legalization efforts proper and started opening retail stores. But in that time, it was Pierce, Thurston, and King County from like 1990 to like 2005. It was like the Seattle area out to about the like Puyallup, Olympia area, like the state capital that's like an hour and a half from my house. And those communities had medically allowed dispensaries and had them basically regulated as like private social clubs. And if you had medical cards to grow, you were able to sign up as part of their collective garden to sell weed directly to them for
Hmm.
whatever cost you determined was like reasonable between the two of you without any tax liability. So,
I
I
never
would
grew.
drive up. I
I
would roll
couldn't.
up there for once every 3 months and sell like $10,000 or $12,000 worth of weed in the space of like 3 pounds, and then just drive home and be good for the next several months. And I mean, it was a very, very it was a time I look back upon fondly,
Yeah,
economically and personally speaking.
I
But
think I worked like 3 to 4 hours a day, and then I would just be at home, and like people would come by. I had a pretty small like number of people, but they were all people that like smoked like crazy. Like one guy, I like $700 a month from one guy alone.
yeah, well, the things that really sustained me were the people that sold to other people. So
I didn't.
I would have a few pounds at a time. I would sell like, oh, this guy a quarter pound, this guy a quarter pound, and they would go off and sell to their little underlings and stuff, and they'd make so much money that they were ecstatic to pay me like $800 or $900 a quarter pound. And it was like, okay, well, it literally cost me $500 or $600 a pound to grow. So I'm making like anywhere from like $2,000 to $3,000 a pound net at the end of the day, and I am growing like 3 pounds every 3 months, and like a little bit more, a little bit less, depending on how I did in any given harvest. So I was just, if you have 25 or $26,000 cash, it goes a lot further than 40 or $50,000 before taxes that are get chopped to shit. I
I
was able to do that for a few years.
I couldn't get a contact that it consistent. I had that once. I had like 2 pounds, and then just people would come by, and when they'd call me, I'd just like leave it sit on the table, and like with like a scale and stuff. Like you can check it. Otherwise, just leave me my money. I'm not even getting up. But
Right.
other than that, it was I just sold like grams and eighths all day. And the area was like really shit and like super dry. So it was like the going rate was like $20 a gram for everything, no
Yeah.
matter how good it was. And then
See,
I also sold magic cards out of my house too, because I was the guy who ran all the events up there. There was nothing, and I created a community. One guy would come by and he'd get a quarter, and then he'd sit down with the binder and he'd go through and spend like $120 on magic cards too. It was great.
I was like hustling Pokemon cards for a couple of years, but in the poker boom, I started to move in that direction and started to make like $1,000 a week or so, just
You
like
play poker?
hosting. Yeah, I would have like 2 or 3 tables going at my house every day, about 5 days a week for about 2 years there. Just like we had three really nice, well put together tables in the garage. We had 8 or 9 people at each table, and we had probably like $1,000 or so net profit every week
Okay.
without having to win anything. And then on any given day that I won something, I would put like I'm pretty good at poker too, and was generally winning like one game every week out of 3 or 4, and
Yeah.
putting away like 1,500 to 2,000 bucks a week. And at that point, it was just like, okay, well, I have this girlfriend whose dad is growing weed, and he is willing to break me off these plants and these few connections, and I already have these connections, and all I need to do is like buy plants, buy lights, and like invest in these few things. And it all just kind of snowballed,
Huh.
and it led to like 10 years of being largely financially independent just on growing my own plants. And it also contributed very directly to me being able to like parlay that experience into a career in the weed industry, because once they started to open up in more recreational and official capacity, it was like, well, you guys already all know me, right? Or at the very least, I know more about what you're selling than you do. So, you know, it
We should
was
play poker.
well, we should. We should.
I've been playing
I'm
poker literally since I was 5 years old.
I mean, this is not
Hey, that's not a
that's
Motorhead
not on
tattoo,
there.
huh?
That's not on there for no reason. I do like to I do like to sit at as many card tables as I can physically find time for. It's just that that's fewer and further between these days.
I play online and it's a different beast.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I play by feel. I've been playing so long that the cards don't really matter. It's like the interaction and how I'm patterns and all that. But it's gone online.
yeah.
There's no tells. Like
yeah.
a little bit, but it's the skill that I've curated over my life has been significantly diminished, and I'm having to rely a lot more on math.
Yeah, that's the thing is like absent a regular amount of time to play live or like in whatever medium I'm most comfortable with, I'm basically relying on math. I'm basically relying on like having a pretty good understanding of what my odds are at any time to hit the hand that I need to feel comfortable versus the hand that I am going to feel fundamentally uncomfortable investing a significant amount of money on. So like there's just something about like a few years after I got into poker, there was just like this really long, really generous heyday of hobbyists that were getting in and would just like
Fish.
give you money in really obvious ways.
I've had people call me like a $80 pot, and I'm like, all right, what do you got? They're like, jack high, but like they weren't bluffing. They called me. They called me.
Right.
Yeah, it'd be that kind of shit. They just like being there.
I had Jack King, so I had to chase it. Like, okay, cool. Like, thank you for the money. I'll take this now, and I will relieve you of the responsibility of owning it, because clearly there's something here. Yeah, I feel the same way.
Crazy. They just want to hang out. That's it. They just want to pay the good money to hang out with the card players. That's all it is.
Yeah. And goddamn, do I miss the days where there was a more generous population of those people who were doing it like because their buddy wanted to do it. It was like,
or because it was popular on TV. That was I was in high school, and goddamn, I made a lot of money. I used to play. There was like a hush hush poker tournaments that would happen like twice a month, not by a month, like twice a month.
Like warehouse games.
What's that?
Warehouse games?
Basically, but it was up north in Michigan, so people just had like giant barns and shit, and whoever was there, you'd have to pay like it's not like really a rake, but you'd have to like part of the money that you pay would go to whoever's hosting because they provided food and all this other shit.
Everybody drops like a $20 or $50 buy-in, and there is like a one rebuy limit, and these people have their like sanctioned spaces, invite only. 3 tables that are largely like either crafted by hand or cost like at least $1,000 each to buy, and you've got people who are there dealing just for the tips that they're gonna make and stuff. Like,
I was 20 years the youngest person there, and people didn't like me because I was very chatty at the table. But that's how I get a lot of information, and because I was winning a lot, like I just sort of showed up because the guy who hosts it sometimes. I sold weed to his son-in-law. That's how I got in. And
the thing is, like, all the guys in that era were like used to somebody wanting to like step outside and like take 10 paces each if they fucking spoke wrong. And it's like, guy, we're probably not going to have to either like Street Fighter shoot each other in the event that I hurt your feelings. So I'm going to hurt your feelings and I'm going to watch you collapse into a sloppy mess of overplayed hands. Like this is just what's going to happen. All right. So I hope that you get comfortable with it because like this is my comfort zone. Okay. Oh, I get it. And I used to have the same experience except for, I'm I'm 33. I think you're 37.
34.
34. Oh fuck. So like we're really really close actually. Okay, so I thought you were like a couple years ahead of me if like only because the dynamic is like yeah, that is basically how we would have played as freshmen with the like senior class and the people who were a little bit closer to like being able to walk in and play in casinos proper. They demand just like a little bit more, I don't know,
I need to go
respect
play in
and
a casino. People are bad playing a casino.
true. Oh, one second. One
Okay.
second. I'll be right back.
Okay. When Portland comes back, I'm gonna we got to make sure that we talk about this free speech thing. I got to know what he actually thinks. He's a good friend in this space for me, so it's hard to not get bogged down enjoying each other's company.
What is happening?
Hmm? I took a minute to read a text from my girlfriend.
You just I could only see the very beginning of your hairline. Reddit really hates Mindy Kaling correcting people the last 2 days over this Velma You should probably just call it quits on that. Stop fighting people about Mindy Kaling. Anyways, free speech.
Yeah.
Free speech. What the fuck about?
Yeah, so what do you actually stand? I think it's so what do you think should be protected? What do you have a problem that is protected? Or what do you have a problem with that is protected that you don't like? And how do you feel about the sort of like societal reaction and like essentially people canceling people in the way that they do? You can
Well,
feel free to take that all one at a time, but those are I'm sort of giving you like the rubric of the
yeah,
big
so
points that are on my
let's
mind.
start with the beginning.
Yeah,
What should be protected?
I'm sorry. Give me 1
Probably.
second. Why'd you take that from me? Can I have that back? My wife came and took my drink, but it wasn't
I
empty.
just want the can.
It's not empty.
I know. I'm gonna take the cans back. Right?
Oh.
You can drink it first.
Okay.
We'll have time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Tell her to chill.
Yeah, she walked up and I have a monster, and she walked up. She's like, "I wanted the can." I'm like, "No, I want to drink it out of a glass."
I mean, are you feeling pretty decaffeinated at the moment? You
I've taken a lot of caffeine.
Pizza out of your mouth.
I drink a lot of caffeine.
No. I refuse to listen to anything pre-finishing of that pizza bite. Jeez. It made me deeply uncomfortable. Okay. Hit me.
The only thing I drink is water and energy drinks. And I have a limit how much energy drink I have. So like when I enjoy it, I really want to be able to enjoy it
What's the
because
limit?
otherwise it's water. I usually have 2 Red Bulls a day. But in this case, these monsters were $1. 7-Eleven had a clearance on them, so I bought like the little mini pallet of 21.
What's the like caffeine quantity in those? Just out of curiosity. Look at
don't
the
track
fucking
it.
label. Dog, look at the label.
I was when you said it. I was shrugging because I didn't have an immediate answer. Hang on.
It's literally on the can. It's like FDA required.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, I was shrugging because I couldn't answer immediately, but I was looking at it.
I'm gonna say 120 like 120
yeah.
milligrams.
That's nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all about those Bang energy drinks, and
I
those
stopped
bad boys are 300 plus like creatine and some other shit.
I stopped my kid from being able to drink those, not because of the caffeine content, but if I went to go get one, I didn't like the way it sounds when I asked my kid if they wanted me to get them one. I went to their room one time. I was like, I'm gonna go to the store. Do you want a Bang? And I was like, you're not allowed to drink these anymore.
Yep, that's fair. That's fair. I think that is
Red Bull for you. We're a Red Bull house now.
Yeah, that's the main source of concern with most people when it comes to those things. I think that's like how I became aware of them was via a dirty joke. So,
but I wasn't making. I was just talking, and I was just like, I'm unhappy with my own language. And to solve this discomfort, I'm going to discontinue this my consumption of this product.
What's Desperado Sensei doing?
By the way, I still need to get a hold of you too, my guy. He's gonna be my outside of Western society perspective on this.
But he's so westernized in his incredibly insightful but relatable perspectives. Like, he makes points that I'm always like, oh yeah, no, I can understand that. Like, I agree with that. So I just sort of assume
I want to know what it's like in other places. How speech is treated.
That's fair. I do love Japan, and he does live in Japan. It's one of the most like culturally interesting places that I've ever been. We're watching us from work. He's got class in 20 minutes or so. Well, that's fun. It's nice to have you here, buddy.
He was on my anime panel, and he's like, I live in Japan. I'm married to somebody who's from Japan. I was like, wait, you live in Japan and you married a Japanese woman? I was like, you're like the ultimate weeb. Like, you made it. You did all the things.
Well, he's an icon both in this space and like the internet at large for his level of accomplishment. It's very impressive. I also just appreciate his perspective because, there are very few people that he anti-weeb. I think that's fair to say, because you establish that someone can have both like the interests of a weeb and a perfectly healthy emotional interior life. So, I mean, those two things seem to be counterintuitive at first glance, but Desperado Sensei pulls it off.
No, fuck that. He is a weeb. He just wiggles out of it because you were like, do you watch your anime? And he'd be like, anime just means cartoon in Japanese. Like, no, fuck you, weeb. I do really like and respect him though. He's a good guy.
He's a good guy. I want to address your points one by one.
Yeah, let's do it.
What do I think should be protected free speech? I mean, morally speaking, probably anything other than direct calls to violence. Practically speaking, I think we should clap pretty much anything that is demonstrably dishonest in its presentation of information. But I don't think that my pragmatic points of view will ever like bleed into a culture that people find acceptable from like a liberty and autonomy standpoint, if that makes sense.
I I think so. Do you want to just expand on it a little tiny bit so that way I don't have to assume?
Sure. I think that the level to which we enjoy free speech is probably objectively destructive to societal cohesion. Like, it's a corrosive element on our ability to maintain a society that can generally agree on the direction we should be heading without overt susceptibility to perverse, like perversely motivated messaging that caters to individuals more so than it does the collective good. Like, I think the collective good is something that we undervalue a little bit in Western society at the expense of personal freedom, or like in favor of personal freedom. But that's just my opinion.
Uh, so in the personal level, what do you think? Where do you think it goes bad? Not so like I understand you made it. You drew your lines pretty clear in the law, and it's funny. A lot of people want to talk about the law in this, but I want to know how people feel. I want to know what people think.
How I feel is fundamentally colored by the way people have misrepresented information surrounding COVID.
That's a
So
big one for me. I've never
I
had my desire for free speech challenged as hard as COVID misinformation because they're killing people. They're actually killing people.
exactly, like,
They're tricking and
whether or
killing.
not I can never draw a line directly from a claim of misinformation to the death of a human being, but I goddamn know that there exists some substantive connective tissue between the amount of people that we saw die and that we are seeing die versus the amount of misinformation propagated into the information sphere of those people who are dying in preventable fashions.
It's
So
undeniable. Why is
it
the United States so different?
it, it has
Well,
redefined my perception of the value of free speech in a way that I think people who are on the more conservative and conspiratorial side of the argument would say it was always meant to. And at the same
there's
time, I think that there's some validity to the notion that, like, speech, when left completely unchecked, can have substantive human cost that we should be really cognizant of, whether we take legislative means to curtail it or not.
um I highly recommend watching there's a documentary called Totally Under Control. Highly accredited filmmakers made a documentary about how the Trump administration specifically allowed this to get like knowingly allowed things to get like extremely bad before taking any actions, how they denied to take certain actions. Like we had tests that we could have used. The issue with them was that they weren't approved to do this because they tested for COVID and something they tested for another enzyme as well, which means they would have perfectly detected COVID just well, but they wouldn't push that through so that we could have testing like way prior to when we had public testing available. There's a lot of things that happened that were really fucked, but I think that not having those things also allow for misinformation to spread really, really well. I think that there are certain situations where normal liberties are suspended. If there's an active shooter in a building, I don't think that you get up and say anything. If everybody's hiding in a room, I think it's illegal. I think it ought to be illegal to stand up and say a single fucking word instead of shutting the fuck up and being quiet and protecting everybody else. When there's certain things that are happening, there is obvious, pragmatic things that you can do to all the way up to ending people's lives. And based on the severity of the situation, you don't get to do these things. There's
You
even
know what
limits
this
to the
is
Second
called?
Amendment. You can't take a
Like,
gun into a government building.
philosophically speaking, do you know what this is called? Like this state of pragmatism? It's called moral particularism.
Yeah.
And it's obviously and clearly the only way that you can like function in a developed and complex world against a set of more or less rigidly defined moral codes that accept that there are going to be some extenuating circumstances wherein the lines become blurry and some of your lines bend, if not snap completely. So, like, there
Hey, Jenny,
is
thank you.
Jenny
Sorry, I
is
got
the
to
shit.
subscribe.
No.
Subscription.
Jenny's
I
so great.
appreciate you so much. I know she's
Jenny is
very nice
one
to
of my
me.
favorite people, IRL or otherwise, and really, really just couldn't say enough about how
Hi, Jenny.
fantastic an addition to this space she is, as well as any other addition, like any other space she chooses to occupy.
I actually meant to send her a message earlier today about a thing that I'm doing. I'll have to remember to do that right after this stream. I think I use moral particularism to inform my deontology.
That's something that some people like me would say is not only a valid way to engage with your personal morality, but one of the only ways that caters to a world that doesn't really adhere to your personal morality, whether you want it to or not. And the other side would say like
You got it,
moral
Desperados, say.
particularism is inherently like an amoral philosophy because it provides you a gray area on the edges of either side in which to obfuscate your morals in terms of situational advantageous behavior. I think that like to try to like write off rigidly defined moral systems don't really like work in the entire world. They're thought experiments that sound really good when you're filtering them through approved parameters, but as soon as you start to like walk them out into reality, they become really hard to enforce and really hard to like maintain in a way that's morally consistent.
That's because people have it wrong. I don't think that my moral system would work for most people, but I think that I have to adhere to it. What's right for me, I don't think could be right for a lot of people. I think that the one moral idea that I have that I put onto other people is that, because like really I have only one foundational idea, is that the only good act is the will to do good. That's what good means. It means you want to do the good thing. So if you do something and I know that you think it's wrong, fuck you. You're fucking up right now. You're being a piece of shit because you think you're being a piece of shit, and I know you do. That's what I hold other people. That's the standard that I hold other people to.
But how does that work though in cases where like the benefits for the 51% outweigh the negatives for the 49% in a subjective moral lens? I guess like if someone were to say like, well, I'm going to enslave 49% of the population because it is going to increase the welfare quality of the 51% more than it's going to diminish the quality of life for the 49%. Like these 49% are going to experience really comfortable conditions, even though they'll technically be slaves. But these 51%, they're going to enjoy really sorry, I'm just getting
I would challenge them and say, like, you don't think you're doing a good thing. You think you're doing an evil thing that'll yield a positive result for more people. You're fucking up. You're doing something wrong.
So how do you quantify that though?
I don't think that in a situation like this, this is like a very real and like very this is like a very human thing where I don't think that this is the kind of thing. I don't think that the what I just described is a lens that I would use in like philosophical conversation when I'm examining morality and philosophy at large. What I've described to you is how I interact with morality and how I look at an individual through a lens in my day-to-day life. If somebody has the ability to enslave half of the people, there would be a different moral system at which I'd be looking at. I think that if you have power to do something like that, you have a different there's like a different like tier of morality that I would look at your actions through. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, like, agency has some level of implication on like the morality of your action for sure. I think that that is
Yeah.
a really, really hard line to draw, though, because a lot of people would be really happy to say that they behave in unethical ways because they don't have the necessary amount of inherent agency to push back against their natural inclinations. So I
Uh,
feel like that
I think that is
gives a
most
lot.
people.
Right,
It,
probably.
if that's why I'm a deontologist, so that I'm not a slave to my biological imperatives. I know what
Well,
I want to do ahead of time.
you are still like a slave to your biological imperatives through that lens. You're just acknowledging your biological imperatives and accepting and filtering them through a pragmatic lens, right? I mean, there's
Wait. So if what you're saying is that because I'm making decisions using like my brain and that's the way that I'm going about making decisions, then like that's a biological process, then sure. But usually when we say biological imperatives, we mean like if somebody's hungry and they're walking around in a store without a moral imperative, they're just going to grab that food and start eating it, whether or not they have the money to pay or whether they should have, whether it's for them or for somebody else.
no,
Um,
to absolve them of the moral accountability of stealing there is no different than the moral accountability that one has to a romantic partner or to any other form of social contract. If you feel that because you're biologically inclined to and starved from this resource that you depend on for your personal satisfaction, you're just going to take it or seek it out absent any consideration for external parties. Like, you haven't really redefined your desires as anything like different from the rest of the like things that you want but don't completely understand, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I would say that like that's something that I don't want. So you decide ahead of time that if you're in that situation, you would ask people to help you. You would seek out somebody that would help you get food. You wouldn't reach out and take the food. It's like the reason why people don't drop their pants and take a shit wherever they're standing. We have a moral imperative to not expose ourselves and our excrement to other people. We know that we have to take in that discomfort and go to the bathroom.
Well, hold on. Some people shit in the street. I know because I live in Portland. Okay. There are people that shit in the street that I encounter on like a weekly basis. So, are those
Well,
people morally wrong for shitting in the street, or
um,
are they doing something that is indicative of their biological framework that they
uh,
don't really have a significant amount of agency to control?
well, first and foremost, I want to say that fuck weekly.
Dude, like yeah, it's a dicey
You see
downtown
people
area.
taking a shit, dick blowing in the wind weekly.
I mean, bi-weekly if I go out of my way to avoid the downtown area. If I
Are these homeless
allow,
people?
presumably.
Okay. In the framing that
There's
I'm
a lot
saying
of
is
them.
that people who have every opportunity, as much as I do, to wait and go to the bathroom, and
I mean, I don't run up to him, grab him by the shirt collar, and go, "What's your fucking address?" every time I see it.
okay, so we're assuming that they're homeless. I'm talking about somebody who has general access to facilities that they can use the restroom.
I know.
Um, okay, but that's what I mean. We do have morals that are there to stop us from being slaves to our bodies and to
Yes.
our hormones. and to influences of other people. If you really want to be
those are, like,
free,
they're largely like arbitrarily erected barriers that want like that strive to maintain some level of social cohesion without a real hard and fast prescription for it, right?
correct. And I would say that if you don't put thought into it and you don't craft it for yourself, if you don't have any influence over the moral ideologies in which you're participating in, if you don't have any hand in building those barriers yourself, you're still a slave. You're just not a slave to your body. You're a slave to other people.
Okay, that's
In
fair.
order to actually be free, you have to decide what is right and wrong for yourself, decide how you would behave in a situation. When you find yourself in a situation in which you've never considered before, you are to some extent not going to be able to. You're going to be a slave to impulse in that moment because you don't have the ability to look at it outside of the situation and decide on it. Which I think is why it's very difficult for a lot of people to experience new things.
That's fair.
They make bad decisions when they're not because like if you don't know what to do, something's going to win over, and it's not going to be your conscious thinking mind. It's often going to be, unless you're super good at adapting like that, it's often going to be some sort of pressing, urgent panic response, even if it doesn't
Yeah,
feel
I
like
mean, it's
that.
a fight or flight response, right? Like most break down into like at the very best case scenario, like a fight, flight, or freeze response, like a binary or like a three-pronged response mechanism that like boils your biological framework down to like, well, which one of these options am I going to opt to on a really, really basic level? Um, I missed coming out with you on Friday. Haas, you didn't DM me. Haas, like DM me if you want to hang out. You can't just like tell me after the fact that I missed it. I'll be back in just a couple minutes. I hear my larger of two children screaming in the background, and I've got to go tend to this situation real quick. So I'll be right back. Okay.
Take your time, kids come first. F bombs, how's it going? So I'm a little bit confused here. I have on my restream chat, I'm seeing things that aren't in my YouTube chat. I had somebody like being like crazy, like they said Hitler a lot, and I wanted to like figure out what was going on. And on my YouTube chat, I'm looking at it right now, and I don't see it. Oh wait a minute, is it because let's see. Oh, okay. I figured it out now. Restream was showing it to me, but YouTube wasn't because it only showed me top chat. Like my chat's so fucking busy, I can't. They can't show me all of it. Get the fuck out of here. I'm removing those. Like UN equals. I'm not even gonna say it. I'm not even gonna risk it. I'm on Twitch. F bombs. I saw you. Yeah, he's on YouTube chat. Yes, I saw you on. The from the Chud raid, and it was really cool. I know you were like, oh, don't worry about not being there. Like, I don't think you understand how excited I was to be on your social truth. I wanted to be there with Tuna playing oh, what is it? Something Pockets. God damn it. I'm so bad with names. And it just happened to be my wife and girlfriend's 2-month anniversary, and I'm like, I can't be that shitty. But I really wanted to be there. I had a new character, all worked out for it and all that. Although I should probably revisit some Peter Pockets. Yeah, I should have remembered that. It's the Marvel scheme. So I wasn't just sorry because it was fairly short notice. It was super silly too. I told her like 3 or 4 times I have a stream, and I was like, oh no, wait, I had it set for the wrong day. A bunch of different streams, and then like the day before, I was like, oh fuck, I actually do have a stream now. Yeah, I saw you call them empty pockets. Just because you eat Taco Bell out of a trash can doesn't mean you're broke. That's all I'm saying. Oh yeah, and F bombs. I just talked to Portland about it too. You're more than welcome. Sometime next week, I'm gonna smoke for the first time in like 4 years. If you want to come on stream with me, by all means. My girlfriend got me a joint that's a mere 17%, which seems high for the lowest. Oh no, I lied. It's 18.29. If you want to come hang out, I ate an edible like a year and a half ago, and it was just like one gummy. I ate a half a gummy like before, like 2 days before, and nothing. So I ate a whole gummy, and I got a little anxious. Yeah, I'm not gonna smoke this whole thing. I'll be fucked. I'd probably throw up, but I'm going to hit it to comfort. Um. Oh yeah, I was supposed to. Shit, I was supposed to reach out to you too. You and Jenny for both different things. You're not kidding. I ate an edible one time, and this is when I smoked weed every single day. My friend gave me a gummy. I just feel like they can't track the consistency of how much is in there. And I walked into like the frame, the door frame from my living room and my kitchen, and my roommate was like in the kitchen, and I tried to say something to him, and I was just so high I couldn't talk, and so I just ended up staring at him with like zombie face, and he turned around like startled. He's like, "What's up?" And I just stared at him like couldn't talk, and he's like, "Are you just really stoned?" And I was just like, he's like, "Oh, okay," and then I left. Uh, Edibles can be stressful. They can track what's in it, but the delayed response lacks consistency. I guess so. I guess I just don't get it because, like, when I was younger, I used to get these hard candies that somebody had from a dispensary, and I'd eat like 9 or 10 of them. And I just get stupid. Like, I'd say dumb shit, and people are like, "What?" I'm like, "Don't listen to me. I'm dumb." And that would be like the thing that would happen. But like, as an adult, I would take a small edible and just be like, "This is uncomfortable." Oh, Portland is back. Hello, Portland. Everything good?
Did I hear we have another guest? What's going on?
Oh, I was talking F-bombs in chat. I was talking to him about me eating edibles. I switched from edibles to
man.
vapes recently.
So where's he at? Because I don't see him in Twitch chat. Is he on YouTube? Are you?
He's
on
on YouTube.
Dual?
Yeah, I
You
use
dual
Restream now.
stream? Whoa, that's fancy.
I feel like I had to start dual streaming because I have a bigger audience overall. I have more followers than I have subs on YouTube. But when I stream on YouTube, I get more viewers. So I don't want to abandon Twitch, and I don't want to like forego the views that I'm getting on YouTube. So I had to do it. This is the second time too. F-bombs notices that Buck Freedom is on my stream.
Well, hold on. I just want to put a quick
I knew it.
America First freedom shout out for our buddies F-bombs for you and Jenny Burns in chat. I know that they are both patriots of the highest caliber, and I just want to tell them I appreciate both of them. God bless America, and God bless social truth.
It's a lot of fun.
It's a great show. It's like by far the most entertaining thing to do in this little Twitch space for me. I mean, no offense, I do like having real life conversations too, but filtered through the lens of satire, it feels so much more appropriate for this entirely unserious space.
Yeah, I like it.
You don't have to ask. You're always blessed as both an American and a Black Lives Matter supporting Portlander. All right? I appreciate you.
I really expected you to say Christian. or like a child of Christ or something like that.
You know, I have no ability to I have no idea what Haas's religious affiliations are. I just know that if he's in the great city of Portland, he loves the social justice agenda, and that means we're on the same team. God bless you, brother. But brown God, not the dirty white one that, you know, obviously has caused so much systemic injustice in our day. Okay. So, back to free speech.
Yeah.
What do I technically support? Anything other than direct calls to violence? So what don't I support?
Yeah.
Pragmatically speaking,
Yeah.
I think that, direct calls to violence are obviously a very, very big no-go. And I think that there's something there's a really valid conversation to be had about stochastic terrorism. I think that there are undoubtedly some kinds of rhetoric that prime audiences through an extremist lens to lash out in ways that they are told are like the only appropriate ways to respond to the existential injustices that they see in our society, trans groomers and socialism and the evils that threaten to topple the American institutions that they've formed their personal and political identities around. I think that when we see people like libs of TikTok, I'm doing violence
Thank you
to these
so much,
toffee crunch
F-bombs.
Oreos, you monster.
You helped me hit my goal. I gotta set a
Actual
new one.
violence is being advocated for in chat right now, and I highly recommend sanctioning F-bombs for the next 60 seconds before he goes too far. Because I know that once they start, they don't just end with the toffee crunch Oreos, they come for the vanilla. All right? So eventually, when there's no more toffee crunch Oreos to commit violence on, they will come for the white on whites.
Are the toffee crunch ones still vegan like the regular ones? I'd be eating me some Oreos, bud.
I don't think the regular ones are vegan. I think they just have
they
a
are.
vegan. No, they have a vegan version of the
No.
regular.
Regular Oreos
No,
are vegan.
You're wrong. You're just wrong. Hold on. Are
You're talking to the vegan here.
Oreos- Yeah, but my best friend is very is a very oh wait, no, he's also gluten free, and that's probably where I'm getting mixed up. So there are Oreos gluten free.
I am so fucking sick and tired of gluten free being added to gluten being removed from vegan products. I just don't want to fucking support the exploitation and torture of animals. Why do you have to fucking punish me for it by making all the mac and cheese, which wouldn't be bad, fucking ass by making it gluten free? Nobody likes gluten free noodles. If they
Gluten-free noodles are garbage.
they are, I'm furious about it. We have some good. They have good cheese in them. It's not bad. I've had really good mac and cheese, but it's garbage because the noodles are fucking ass. So I have to buy a separate thing with real noodles, and not this gluten free bullshit. There's so many things that would be good for me to eat, but they just get infected with this gluten free bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically anti-capitalist propaganda at this point. We all know that the capitalist infrastructure depends on the monetization of gluten, and that if they're able to decouple the gluten industrial complex from the capitalist infrastructure, then surely the American hegemony and the patriarchy will be toppled in quick succession. And I personally am a big fan of all those institutions as a white male American. So I'm buying extra gluten products just to make sure that I do my part to push back against the great replacement.
You're kind of right. It is a capitalist thing because people are always on these fad diets, and it's really popular to go gluten free vegan to lose weight. And fuck those people. Fuck them, because they're gonna do it for 3 weeks, lose 6 pounds before they go to the fucking beach, and then they're gonna drop it. And meanwhile, I'm stuck with the fucking garbage food that they don't want to eat anymore, and nobody wants to eat.
See, this is just objectively accurate. My domestic situation downstairs is spiraling out of control. Can I ask you, are you going to be available in a little while once you've had the chance to go grocery shopping yourself?
I actually everything just got moved to tomorrow.
Oh, okay. So
yeah.
Can we reconvene for another 60 minutes after I'm done with this little domestic situation downstairs, and we will complete the series of questions on free speech and the general parameters?
Yeah, I'll just
Awesome.
fuck around here and do whatever. I'll just keep the stream rolling.
I love you. I'll be back in a little while, okay?
I love you too, buddy. I'll see you in a bit.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Talk to you soon. Um, let's see here. I need to make this window go away before I do a dumb thing, which would be to click on Discord and do anything on Discord before I do this. I'm really bad at that. Also, for the love of God, if somebody can remind me to just raid anybody at the end of this, I would be so grateful. I'm always like, okay, bye, and then I shut off my stream, and then afterwards I cuss myself out because like I know I don't have a ton to give away, but like it's a waste, and it's I feel like it's inherently shitty to just raid nobody. Where's my OBS at? All right, I'm gonna step away for like a minute or two, and I'll be right back. I am gonna keep streaming until Portland comes back, but I'm just gonna take like a minute. So I will be right back. Oh, Jesus. There we go. Oh, shit. You step away for 2 minutes. Yeah, I had a feeling. Well, in that case, I suppose I will, just, oh, man. So these headphones, really give me the build up. I guess I'm gonna pop off, for an hour-ish, while Portland's doing his thing. I didn't want to leave because we had a few people here, and I just wanted to be, I guess, like more or less respectful of the fact that I had between the two platforms. An okay audience. I'm pretty grateful for, but pretty much everybody dipped. So I'm just gonna come back when Portland's ready, and yeah, I will be back then. So if you're still here, I assume that you will be back. If you stayed through the be right back screen. Shit, I should have asked sooner for people to like the YouTube stream. All right, yep, I'll be streaming again roughly an hour. I won't raid with 2 though. I'll be back in a bit.